Good morning, everyone. It's Ray with Tarot Living. So it's Sunday morning. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a morning person. I usually do this very late at night, but I was a bit busy painting last night, so working on King of Cups still. So today we are going to do a reading for July 5th to the 11th. We're going to use Druidcraft today, so that is what they look like. And I'm actually just going to pull the cards right now. So we're going to ask for 2 cards that will help us to know what to do for this week and how this week is going to go. Okay, so the cards that I've picked for this week just now are the 4 of Swords and the 10 of Swords. Wow, okay, so both swords. So obviously we can see immediately that we have a pattern of swords, and swords relates to air sign. And air sign is all about our mental thinking and the way that we perceive things and the way we judge and determine and reason. It's about our the logical part of ourselves. It is also relating to the way that we communicate. And so sometimes communication with others will come into play with the swords. Swords is, the air sign is one, or air element is one of the most intangible elements to kind of talk about. You know, it's not like Pentacles where it's tangible and you can reach out and touch it and you understand it. It's really, it's almost like stems from what I think is the mind field of the universe, and then that mind field energy, you know, translates down into our experience on Earth as well, that there is an air element, an intangible element in the universe that is our thinking and our perceiving. So this week it's all about thinking, perceiving, and the air element. So we've got 2 cards here, 4 of Swords and 10 of Swords, and I can say that what jumps out to me right away is that the 4, I always see the 4 because I always see it astrologically. So if I'm going to look at the groupings of these 2, the first thing I'm going to look at is that the 2, 3, 4 of Swords sit in the house of Libra. And the 4 of Swords is actually the final card in the 3 decans within the house of Libra. And the 4 of Swords comes after the 3 of Swords, and it is almost like the respite and the quiet and the recuperation required after the 3 of Swords. So it's almost like saying, you know, you've been through a difficult experience with the 3 of Swords, and right after that, you need to have a period to recuperate and to rebalance your mind in some way. So the 4 is actually the ending of that particular cycle of the 2, 3, 4 of Swords, and it is the period where you're doing some healing because the 3 has caused you some level of pain. Now, if you escalate the 3 to create even more difficulty in terms of your mental workings and what's going on around you and the pain that you may be experiencing, then the 10 is going to escalate the 3, you know, times I don't know how many. The 10, I've often said this and I'll say it again, I've said it in a previous video, is that the 3 of Swords is one of those things where you have pain or difficulty or some kind of strife that occurs, and often it's relating to people or communication or situations, and that causes you some pain. And the 10 is like exponentially more than that, where it's difficult to recuperate and you actually find that you have to make some significant changes and something has to end in order to really move past the pain because it's that difficult. So if we're sitting here looking at the 4, which says that I come after the 3 of Swords and I need some kind of respite and relaxation, and then right after that we have the 10, it reminds me that there's something that's going on that we're healing from this week. And it's almost recognizing that you need to heal from whatever happened at the 3, and there was quiet, and then the 10 comes along and says, and we also need to actually look at ending something and changing something here, because some kind of level of strife or difficulty is carrying on, and we have to recognize that we might need to accept that certain things need to end, certain things need to fall in order to rebuild later. So I think these two cards together are very intense, and they're reminding us that we often through life, pick up painful situations and difficulties that can occur. And the question becomes, what parts of you need to heal? What parts of you need to change and fall away, and to kind of let go of in order to rejuvenate yourself later? The newness has not yet come, okay? We're going to be in a transition through to newness later. Right now, we're really looking at I needed to actually take respite from a certain amount of pain, and then right after that we've got more difficulty with the Ten of Swords. And so it's like saying we've had a string of something going on, and we need to recognize that we not only need to rest and recuperate, but we have to recognize that something needs to come to maybe an end, and you need to allow something to fall away in order that you can find the rejuvenation that comes right around the corner with the 10. So this week, what we need to, consider is what has happened that we recognize that we were already in recuperation mode, and then maybe something more occurs where we realize, okay, I really need to actually allow something to fall away and to move past in order to rejuvenate myself going forward. And it's just, it's something that we need to just take a look at this week to consider. We don't want to move ourselves into a struggle of not letting something fall away if it needs to fall away. We need to not find ourselves in that grand struggle of the 3 or even of the 8 or the 9 of Swords. We want to allow something to recognize that something maybe needs to come to an end, and that we have to rejuvenate ourselves around the corner. So rejuvenation will come quickly around the corner, but right now we're in recuperation mode and recognition mode of what needs to actually come to completion, I guess one would say, because of some difficulties, some strife, some kind of mental difficulty or upset that had occurred. So that's what those two cards mean to me. Sounds like we've got a little bit of an intense week coming up. So just as you move forward, consider, what you need to do this week to move past some of those, pain and difficulties and strife that we may run into as humans. So, well, take care of yourselves, and we will talk to you next week. God bless.